Thank you. Okay, so welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. Goal here today is to help you build a team that delivers. And essentially, how do you get your staff doing the right things consistently? A little bit about me, I don't expect you to read it. I think the key thing here is that I'm a CEO coach, have been for over 10 years, but more importantly, I've been a CEO myself multiple times. Largest business was 600, smallest business is probably the one I'm in now with about seven various staff and have scaled businesses significantly. So I know I've been there, done that, and know what it's like from your perspective. So what do we do? What my business does, we help founder CEOs build $10 million plus businesses that are scalable, highly profitable, and self-managing and exit ready, even if you don't plan to sell. What I find with my clients is when they start with me, they're hitting a $3 million, $1 to $3 million barrier, and it's really hard to get past that. So the key thing here is helping you get past that $3 million hurdle. Just bear with me for a moment. I'm going to let some more people in. I'm sorry, I'm just having a bit of an issue here. There we go. So going on. So the key point here, I think, is for you to understand that you're not alone. That if you look at the number of people we have on the call, I think we have 30 odd plus, and we had something like 120 actually register. So this is obviously a subject that really resonates with founder CEOs. You're not alone. Many CEOs are grappling with the same issues. I want to introduce you to a guy called Scott Tanner. Scott Tanner. Scott, the founder of a company called Western Financial Group, and I met him in America about just before COVID, I think. Scott sold his business in the mid 2000s for 430 odd million dollars. Quite a significant business. And on the way, he did a lot of research into what blocked businesses from scaling. And what he came up with was a theory called the valleys of death. And the valleys of death concept is that businesses get to certain stages, and it's fascinating that these valleys of death they apply. I've done research across multiple countries, and they apply across the board. So essentially, what he found is that when businesses get to about $1 million revenue, that they hit this valley of death. They find it very hard to grow past $1 million in revenue. And that's why most small businesses in Australia and around the world are one, two, three people company only. The interesting part of this, though, is that it's actually not about the dollars. It actually equates to the number of full-time employees. When businesses hit about that 9 or 10 people mark, they find it very hard to break through. The second valley of death is, and 96% of businesses don't break through that 10 FTE mark. Sorry, the next valley of death is about 25 FTEs. And once again, businesses get blocked at that stage. $10 million mark, only 0.4% of businesses get past $10 million revenue. And only in America, these are American numbers, I should say, and only 17,000 businesses out of 28 million firms in America break through the $50 million mark. Now, interesting enough, these figures also, oops, sorry, apologies. These figures also work in Europe. And if you look at, okay, here in Mexico, the dollar quantum is different, but the actual number of staff is the same. So 96% of businesses don't get past $500,000 US. Only 4% get past that. Only 0.4% get past $5 million US. And if we extrapolate that to Australia, same numbers, same percentages. So if you're running up against what we call the valleys of death, you're not alone. This is not something that makes you different to anybody else. And what I've developed is a whole series of tools and frameworks and playbooks to help you break through these valleys of death. So, what's our agenda for today? We're going to talk about some tools to help you build a team that is performing together, that's aligned, accountable, and can break you through the valleys of death, get you past where you are now to the next significant revenue number, and build a self-managing business that can work without you so that you can actually take a break, that you can actually focus on more than just the business. So I'm just going to take you and show you when my clients join me, these are the sort of comments they make when they're coming to and when they start joining me. I feel stuck at 3 million, like I'm spinning my wheels. No matter what I try, I can't seem to break through. Everything still depends on me. I'm exhausted. The business is burning me out. I don't know how to scale without losing control. I'm the bottleneck. I don't know how to fix it. I want to delegate, but no one seems ready. I want systems, but there's no time to build them. I don't have a clear path to 10 million and 10 million and more. How much of this resonates with you guys on the call? Yeah. So what I'm running is a series of workshops every fortnight, and I'm going to introduce tools and frameworks and playbooks to help you get through that. Today, as I said, is all about people. Now, a lot of a lot of my founders think look, it's just not a people problem. Yeah, you're in a situation where staff are missing deadlines, CEO is firefighting, micromanagement and burnout. The result, I'm sorry about that. Obviously, I've got AI to actually build this for me. The result that we're looking to build is a predictable growth, personal freedom, and a legacy that lasts. Now, most CEOs think the issues are about people, lazy staff, poor hires, underperformance. I think the truth is deeper. It's about leadership rhythms and systems. Without clarity, your team relies on you to solve everything. And so you end up firefighting all day. And that's what creates burnout and micromanagement. The problem isn't just about people, it's the lack of structure. And I'm going to address some of that today. So if you look at this slide, I believe that accountability is the foundation. Every high-performing team is built on a foundation of accountability. And if we think about performance like a pyramid, at the base of the pyramid is the accountability, people knowing what they're responsible for and being held to it. Without this, everything crumbles. The middle layer is clarity. Clarity of roles, clarity of priorities, clarity of how success is measured. It rules, if roles overlap or goals are vague, accountability doesn't stick. And the top of the pyramid is results. The predictable growth, the predictable growth and outcomes we all want. Results are they're not accidental. They're built systematically starting from the accountability and clarity. So what we're going to do now is show you some tools to help you lock in the accountability part. By the way, there's a workbook. I think Crystal has thrown that into the chat. If you haven't got it, please just make a comment to Crystal and she'll share it with you. We'll share it again. So I've just provided the top half of this tool. It's an organizational accountability chart for senior leaders, but it works for your entire team. So what the first thing we look at doing, getting your people doing the right things right, is to start with your leadership team. What roles should be on your leadership team? Now, notice I'm not talking about what people on your leadership team. What roles should be on your leadership team? Head of company, COO, marketing, sales, operations, yeah, etc. And the tool has many more, and you will also have specific roles for your business, I'm sure, in addition to these. So the first part of sorting out accountability is working out what functional roles you need in your business. The second part is listing who's accountable. Now, what you'll find, I'll guarantee, is that you as a founder CEO will find that you have more than one hat. Yeah? How many of you have multiple hats in your business? Yeah? So what the aim here is to identify, and if you look at the instructions, identify the key functions, name the person accountable for each function, identify if there are more than one person in a seat, if a person is in more than one seat, and if there are empty seats, who should be doing it? And then the final question is, would you enthusiastically rehire the person in that seat? Okay. That will lead to some key decisions later on. Functional role, personal accountable. What are the leading critical numbers, KPIs for each of the roles? What are the results, outcomes, lagging KPIs? I'll come back to that in a moment. What are the top 5 priorities for the function? Is there a scorecard completed? And do you have a 90-day one-page plan for the function? Now, this sounds hard. So the first thing is, how do you work out the KPIs? Now, I have a separate workshop I ran a month ago. I'm running it in 2 weeks' time. You'll get an invitation about how to actually do that. Yeah. How do you build a 3-year plan and then a 12-quarter runway down to the current quarterly sprint, for want of a better word, that will help you build the KPIs. But there are two types of KPIs. One is leading numbers, and the second one is results, outcomes, lagging KPIs. So as an example, your sales team. The sales team should have a KPI, something like how many real qualified conversations are they having with your perfect future client every day, every week. That's a leading. The lagging is the number of sales they make. So if they make the right number of sales calls to your perfect future client, it should lead to a result of dollar sales. Does that make sense? So the key thing here is to identify the leading and lagging KPIs for each of the functional roles within the business. Then the top 5 priorities for that role or that function for this year and this quarter. Do you have a scorecard complete? The scorecard is, and I don't have that in this presentation, but I'm happy to share it. I use a system called top grading, which was developed in the Jack Welch days of General Electric, where instead of using a position description, we use a scorecard, which includes the mission of the role, the KPIs of the role, and the competencies required. And finally, you have a 90-day one-page plan complete for each of these functions. Okay. Our goal should be that we are that each function and each role below the functions each has a 90-day plan and 90-day targets. And that's how you significantly shift the business. Okay, so let's think about what you as a CEO or other functions in the business, what are you responsible for? So if you think about what I'd like you to do is just take a piece of paper, a couple of minutes, and write down for the CEO, sales, and operations, what do you reckon the key roles of those functions? Let's start with you, the CEO, the founder. What are the key functions for the CEO? So I would argue the key functions of a CEO that you have 4 things only. And this is where CEOs and founders get lost. They focus on the minutiae. Essentially, on this call, I've got Crystal, who's one of my team, and she knows more about video production, editing, posting, promoting, getting people along to this than I will ever know. And she takes great pleasure in beating me up at times when I try and get involved where I shouldn't be. She's, in my view, an A player, and you need to be surrounding yourself with A players, people who are strong on your values and highly productive in the role they're in. CEO, only four things. Firstly, owns the vision and strategy of the business, identifies the vision and strategy of the business, and then talks about it and talks about it and talks about it until he or she are blue in the face. So the staff know it, so the clients know it, the customers know it, so your financiers know it, so your board of directors, whoever is around you, that they all know it and they can recite it ad infinitum. So it owns the vision and strategy. Secondly, getting the right people on the bus. That's what we're talking about here today. Having surrounding yourself with the right A players who can do what Crystal does for me, just takes this so I don't have to worry about it. Thirdly, has is responsible to make sure there's enough cash to actually run the business. And fourthly, from an execution perspective, build the systems and processes with your team so that we automate as much as we can, but we have systems and processes that are replicatable that you don't, as a founder and CEO, don't need to worry about. So, strategy and vision, the right people on the bus, enough cash, and systemize and operationalize the execution. Does that make sense? Any questions at the moment? Just come off mute and if you have any questions, please. Okay, I'm making more sense than I thought I was. So, your homework is to go and do this organizational accountability chart for your leadership team and to work out where your gaps are. Because once we've worked out who's responsible for what, one of the things that comes out of this tool is it leads to where your next hire should be. Yeah. So in the organizational accountability chart, I've got a column there, the top 5 priorities. Let me now show you how you work that out. So this is a tool I've developed I call your top. What does your company count on you for? The key, I'm going to show you the top right in a moment, but the key things to look at are the axes. Along the bottom, time, low and high, and along the left-hand axis, value, impact, and results, low and high. So if you look at the bottom two quadrants, so the value is low, okay? And the time is either low or high. These are the areas that you as a CEO should not be spending any time in. If it's low value, delegate it or just stop it. Where if it's high value, it then comes down to low time or high time. And I'd argue that if it's a high priority but lower time, this is stuff that you should be able to delegate. Now let me just take you to the next slide. So this is, if we go back, this is the top right, but see the top right, highest priority, value and impact and results. This is that quadrant. If you just have a read, where you should spend most of your time. What are the top 3 to 5 responsibilities that you must focus on for your role or function, where you should be spending 60 to 80% of your time and effort, where you must focus? What are the top 5 reasons a person holding this position gets paid in order the most to the least important? So if you think about you as the CEO, the founder, what are the key things you're responsible for? Vision, strategy, right people, doing the right things, right? Enough cash, and getting the business systemized. These are the top 3 to 5 things that a CEO should be focused on. And once again, these are the things that you should be talking to your team about to get them to map out their top 5 and then you coaching them as to what their top five actually should be. Does it make sense? And when I'm talking about a vision and strategy, I'm talking about not only the strategy, but the culture and values of the business as well. All of those key things that drive the business in the right way. Any questions? The second piece of homework here is with your team, the leadership team to starting with, working out what the top right is for each of the functions, not for the person, for the function. Because I'm sure that most of you will have a leadership team where you've got the wrong people on the team or they're doing the wrong things. Okay, so those tools there are the foundations. It's working out where people should be working. It's working out the holes in the organization. It's working out where you're multi-hatted and then working out a plan to remove to replace you in roles you shouldn't be in, and the same with members of your team. There is a separate workshop I'm going to be running soon on linking strategy, your people strategy to your strategy. And in there is a particular tool we use called a future org chart, where we map out what your org chart should be looking like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years to match in with your strategy. And the reason we do that, yeah, over multiple timeframes is we're not actually looking to hire someone in 3 months' time. We're actually looking to hire someone based on a revenue number. Okay? Because it's great for me to come and say to you, you need all these people, but you don't have the cash to do it. So we have a tool that will help you identify when you can actually afford to take the next strategic hire on, and when you should start recruiting for that. So whenever you see my tools, you'll find there are others that will complement. So we've talked about what people we need, what skills we need. That's the accountability chart. We've talked about what they should be doing, KPIs, leading and lagging, and the key priorities for it. The question now comes, how do we actually hold people accountable? How do we make the whole business hum so that it all works? Yet another one-page tool. This is my weekly leadership sync meeting. And this can be run at multiple levels throughout the business. And I'd like to take you through it because in my view, this is probably the most powerful thing that you can implement in your business immediately. So the weekly leadership sync meeting is all about putting an accountability rhythm in place. It builds a weekly cadence for your team to ensure that you celebrate your wins, monitor the core metrics that matter, review the big rocks OKRs for hitting your goals, and provide a place to discuss issues. Also, scorecard for KPIs, rocks OKRs, whatever you want to call it, and status for your to-dos. So let's start with the left-hand column, celebrate. Notice I put times involved in for each of these. By the way, you want a copy of this or any of these tools, just please drop me an email and Chris will arrange for them to come out to you straight away. So the first thing, 2 to 3 minutes. Sorry, notice weekly. How long does this take? Maximum 60 minutes. So celebrate. Individuals, what are we proud of? Who are we proud of? Who's done something special? What has the business done that's special? 2 to 3 minutes. And guess what? Out of this one comes communications from the CEO founder to the team saying, well done, gratitude. The second thing is team. So what employee news or issues for the week? Either good or bad. Short and sweet, 2 to 3 minutes only. Someone's pregnant. Someone screwed up. This is how we fixed it. A customer complained. This is how we fixed it. We had a win. Short and sweet, 2 to 3 minutes. And finally, customer headlines. Customer news or issues for the week, either good or bad. Here, we're looking to identify, or number one, fix things for our customers, clients. We're looking to show gratitude once again to the staff and the customers if it's good news. And we want to identify issues that need to be fixed. Okay. Then in the second column, this is essentially about reporting. So the first one is scorecard. 5 minutes only. This is where we list the 5 to 15 key issues the business is facing. Okay. It's we tend to I use a traffic light system, red, yellow, green. We'll have an issues list that's attached to this. Red, yellow, green. Green is everything's on track and hunky-dory, and we're on track to complete this issue whenever. Now, issues are major things for the business that are over 14 days that probably you need a team to fix. So green is we're on track, don't need to worry about it. Yellow is we're off track, but we have a plan. And on my issues list template, we list them in priority of importance. We have what is the issue, a description of the issue, who's responsible, and then red, yellow, green, and then comments. And that has to be updated prior to the meeting. So everybody's got it prior to the meeting. So yellow is off track, but we have a plan. Red is off track, but we don't have a plan. It'll just say that's something we're going to deep dive into. And we go through the top 5 to 15 every week to get an update. Once again, only 5 minutes. And then below that, quarterly rocks OKR review. OKR is another word for rocks priorities. So we review the 3 to 5 big projects, first for the company and then for each person's individual priorities. And each person in the leadership team, or if it's being used further down, reports it's on track or off track. Okay. Any of the key issues, key things that are off track here are dropped into the issues list. Once again, it's a quick 5 minute review. So far, we've spent 5, 10, 15, call it 20 minutes, and we know exactly where the business is up to. Now imagine that every week, knowing exactly where your business is at in a 20-minute call, a 20-minute meeting. The next part is where we really deep dive in, and this is where we review the issues. And what we do here, this takes maximum an hour, but we choose the top 3 issues in the business and we solve them. We work as a team to work out how we're going to solve the key issues. Now, one of the things I talk to my clients about a lot is solve one thing every week. One of the issues that founders and CEOs, and I'm absolutely guilty of this, is that we try and do too much. Where if we just try and solve one thing every week, that's 52 major issues you solve every year. Just think that through in your business. Solving 52 major issues every year. And this is where we do it, where we work the problem in the leadership team. The final column is track. So we have an issues list, major issues, and then we have a to-do list. And these are things that can be completed within 14 days. Okay? And once again, we track these. Name of issue, what it is, a name of to-do, what it is, who's responsible, red, yellow, green, and a commentary. Once again, updated prior to the meeting, and everybody in the leadership team or the group below know exactly where you're at. Next one, score. You rate the meeting and out of 1 to 10 and provide feedback to improve. Now imagine if you did this every week in your business. How more effective you'd be and how much more you'd get done. Any questions? Any observations?
Jonathan, sorry, Tom here, what are the when people try and implement this, what are the common reasons it doesn't work?
Common reasons it doesn't work is because we don't actually do the meetings and we don't do it to the agenda. The problem is Tom, is that people they like to talk. They like to gas bag. They don't actually get down and work the problems and solve the problems. The other key problem, a key issue is the trick here is to actually get the update from your leaders or your team prior to the meeting. In the hour before the meeting, they need to be updating the issues list and the to-do list and the other bits. Yeah, the okay, where your scorecard of your metrics and all that sort of thing is prior to the meeting with the red, yellow, green. And that way, when you all come in, you've all got this visual with red, yellow, greens all over the place. And so you know where to focus. So getting people to fill it in advance. Yeah, it's really interesting. I find the most effective way of doing this is actually on a whiteboard, and you have a battle room, could be in the CEO's office, wherever, and your team comes in 20 minutes, 30 minutes beforehand and actually changes it manually. Otherwise, just a G sheet or an Excel spreadsheet that you can
Yeah.
share. Forget about building complex reporting systems. It doesn't work. You want to, this is a very much a keep it simple, manually update. And that's how you hold your team accountable and hold yourself accountable for that matter. Yeah, I don't know if you guys are like me, but I'm a typical shiny object syndrome person, and it's one of my failures. One of the great things of having Crystal and Vlad and my team around me is they hold me accountable and pull me back. And having it visually, either in a G sheet or on a whiteboard, keeps me focused.
Sure. Thanks.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Okay. So let's jump into the next piece. We're getting into a summary stage here. So, how does role clarity convert to actual measurable outcomes? So, we start with, and this is another workshop which I'm running in 2 weeks' time, which we're going to invite you to. We start with what's the leader's intent? Where are you going to be in 3 years' time? And by the way, I work with my clients on this both personally and professionally. So the business, but we also do a personal vision. So to map out where you want to be in your life and how it's different to where it is now. So where are we going to be in 3 years? We then map that onto 3-year winning moves. So the 3 to 5 strategic bets that will get us to where we want to be in the leader's intent. From there, we look at each function's top. So the top right to get us to the winning moves for each function. And what are the 3 to 5 responsibilities the company counts on that function for? Which leads to KPIs, which so you can successfully measure your success, and which leads to the accountability chart, which is a clear map of who owns what. And then we can track that. So it's it sounds quite simple when I put it like that, but it is simple because the tools are simple. The tools are actually easy. It's actually getting the discipline at all levels, and particularly at your level, to actually get this stuff onto these one-page tools and then measure them. One of the interesting things we do with my clients every quarter, we come back and we review the quarter, the 12 months, the 12-week sprint we've been through. Once again, red, yellow, green, where are we up to? What do we need to adjust and jig to to keep this growth going and to make it easy? Because this is all about making it easy for you and your team to run the business and scale the business. So I'm going to ask you just to take a couple of minutes now, and I'd like you on a piece of paper just to do an accountability audit. Ask yourself these questions and just answer yes, no. Okay, just take a couple of minutes. So does every role in your business have clear accountability? Who owns what? Do your leaders consistently hit their KPIs? Do you run a weekly leadership meeting with a set agenda? Underperformers identified and coached or moved on? Does your team know the 3 to 5 priorities for this quarter? And do you have a scorecard reviewed weekly by the team? Can you just dump into the chat a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as to how many you said yes to? Will you just throw that in the chat for me? This is great. So 22, 5, 0, 3, I think, 6, 0, 1, 2, 3, 3. So here immediately is you've got a guide to how to start getting your team accountable, getting them working on the right things and doing it in the right way. I had a question from two questions. Sorry, a question from Neil, I think it is. My business has 6 co-founders. We've never been able to agree roles and accountabilities in 5 years. Who's in the same boat? Multiple co-founders. Huh? It's really interesting. I have a client who's done phenomenally well, but the 2 co-founders totally divergent on where they want to be. And I've been with the client and I've been together for 3 years, and one co-founder wanted to cash out. One co-founder wanted to complete the business going, keep the business going. And they're now at 60. We've grown the business from about 12 staff to 60 over 3 years, and it's doing phenomenally well. But we had to address this tension. And as it turned out, the founders, decided to put the business up for sale. And sorry, excuse me, decided to put the business up for sale. And along that journey, the co-founders actually became aligned, and they've now decided to withdraw it from the market because we've now got profitability up. We're starting to pay every 3 months. We're paying dividends to the founders. The founder who wanted to divest, we've found essentially I'm talking but they've found the right role for him. It's an innovation role around bringing digitalization, AI, and automation into the business. And he's now very happy to stay. And they decided to actually take it off the market. But it was an 18-month process getting the founders aligned. If you'd help with that, I'd be very happy to do a call with you. Neil's asked, do you have an example of weekly leadership sync page when it's been completed? Yes, we do. We'll get back to you on that, Neil. I think Crystal's already replied to you. I'm sure. Do we have Neil's contact details, Crystal? Stephen, we use a one-page plan that is reviewed quarterly and each staff has a KPI plan. Excellent. Well done. Tom, you'd like the same. Okay. So now we're in a situation where you've got an idea what you need. What happens if you've got people, founders, co-founders, leaders, staff who just are not right? And we're now in the key to scaling a business. There's 2 outcomes. Do we coach or do we exit them? And this is the hard part because a lot of your businesses may have staff who've been with you for a long time, and you will feel very uncomfortable talking about this. When someone is underperforming, most CEOs either ignore it or act too late. Both of those options will cost your business. Instead, we use a structured 90-day turnaround process. First, we diagnose, is it a skill gap? Is it an effort issue? Or is it a cultural misfit? a skill gap, an effort issue, or a cultural misfit. Secondly, we set a 90-day plan with crystal clear expectations and KPIs tied to business goals. Third, we act and review. We meet weekly with the underperforming team member to check progress, coach them when needed, and remove obstacles for them. At the end of the 90 days, the fork in the road will become very clear to you. Either the person is on track and growing, or it's time for them to exit the business. This takes the emotion and guesswork out of underperformance and turns it into a system. Once again, I've got core tools here. This is not couched as a performance improvement plan. We couch it in a way that we've assessed, here are the issues we see. Do you agree with it? We've got a list of questions that we use. Actually, a lot of my IP comes from a guy called Jim Collins, who wrote a couple of very good books, including Good to Great and Built to Last. And these questions, with a couple of additions, come from that. So the next key is working out, do you have the right team to actually pursue your growth plans? And as I said, that's something I'm very happy to talk to you about. So getting close to summarizing, what's your role? This is about moving you from being a firefighter to a builder. One of the key issues of founders is that they do the work. That's not your job. Your job is to build the team that does the work. Okay? I talk a lot about who, not how. Who, not how. It's not about how the job gets done and you doing it. It's about finding the right who. Okay? And surrounding yourself by the right who's. Now, think about this I don't know how big your businesses are, but the right who can be full-time or the right who can be part-time. It can be a contractor. They can be a consultant. The right who can be, and it's about finding the right who. So I'll give you an example. One of my clients, they're in the travel industry, but they do large international events as well. And the CEO and I have been talking about how we bring AI and automation and digitization into the business. And the problem is it's a business with about 15 staff. It's really successful. And but they don't have the resources, and most of you won't have the resources to bring in a full-time person to help them with this. The other thing is, with the change AI and automation and digitization is bringing, there's a lot of change that can, frankly, break your business if you go too hard, too fast. At the same time, you can't ignore it. So what we've done is sat down and we've built out a plan for a 3-year plan to start changing their business using automation, AI, and digitization. And that's included targets. The way we built the plan is we brought an outsider in. We brought an outsider in to advise the CEO on how to, it started with me, but then we identified an outsider to come in and work to identify all of the possible projects that could be implemented and then prioritize. And then we set priorities and goals as to when we're going to do what. So one of the things is within 6 months, we're going to automate 20% of the admin heavy roles within the business. That's a 6-month plan. And we have a list of the things we're going to automate. And one of the things, interesting enough with the client, is they're having an AI day every week with the team, the whole team, where we, under the guidance of me and under the guidance of the consultant we found, we're building AI agents, etc. And if you think about the productivity increase of automating 20% of the boring admin tasks to focus the client team on doing what they do best, which is actually providing wow to their clients because they're fabulous at customer service. The productivity increase from that, 20%. Now imagine if we extrapolate that out over 3 years and we have KPIs and a plan to, like, they take huge multi-hundred travel groups overseas. Imagine if rather than generating itineraries manually, which they currently do, if that was all generated by AI. Imagine the productivity increase in your business. And it allows you It will allow them to redeploy their very good team on client-focused wow stuff. Go back. We're looking to move you from being a firefighter to a builder. And we do that by building the right team, whether they be full-time, part-time, contractors, etc. And we do that when you've got the resources, the dollar resources to do that. Does that make
Jonathan,
sense? Yes.
yeah, Jonathan, sorry, Tom again. This is a really interesting one. So if you go, I haven't got the if you're in a scenario where you know what the you know what the gap is, but I haven't got the resources to effectively uprate a role to the level it should
Yep.
be, there's a ten. That's where, for example, you find yourself dipping down and you find yourself doing the work because you know what that capability gap is. You maybe have that capability, but so there you end up doing the work, not building the team. It sounds like your solution to that is effectively it's fractional resource. So you get somebody fractionally to solve that capability gap, and you just understand that you may have a capacity gap, but you've solved the capability
Yeah.
problem with
Okay.
some.
A number of ways of doing this, Tom. I'm very focused on building teams of A players. So A players are people who live your values and they're also highly productive in the role they're in. Now, the difference between an A player and a B player, so someone who is probably high in values but lower productivity, is significant.
Yeah,
Now, the cost of hiring an A player is probably 20% more than the average person that you're currently hiring, that you currently have. But they're probably about 100% more productive and effective than a B player is. One of these things here is you as a leader making decisions and making hard calls as do you have the right people? Do you have the right people?
yeah.
And And that's a hard one, particularly when you've grown a business from scratch as a founder and people have grown with you, but they may very well have outgrown, or the role has outgrown them, if that makes sense. How am I doing it? Okay. I know AI is affecting everything. AI automation, digitization is affecting everything. And those founders and CEOs who do not jump on the bus, who just ignore it, will be overtaken by your competitors. So what do I know about AI? I'm certainly an early adopter, but I've taken on a coach to help me. That's not, and by the way, I always have a coach or coaches and always have had because I know that I'm not smart enough to do it all myself. I'm a CEO 5 times over, one with 600 staff, and I have made pretty much every mistake you could ever make as a CEO. But I also don't want to keep making mistakes on new things. So I've got a coach who's helping me with AI and helping me build AI agents and all this stuff I really don't know a lot about. We we've got multiple AI systems in the business, apart from the basics of ChatGPT and building agents there. But I use one of the really interesting things. I have a podcast where I've interviewed 128 CEOs. I discovered an AI thing the other day called Notebook. It's a Google
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
I plugged the URL in for all of the 128 interviews. And I asked it to analyze and tell me the 10 key themes that came out of every one of those interviews. Like for me to do that, or a staff member to do that would take weeks. It did it in the space of 3 hours. Content we use like one of the a really basic one is Descript. Now Descript is a video editing app. And look, I'm all over the place. I and I are, and my eyes are all over the place, etc. By the time this recording comes up, my eyes will be focused at the camera all the time. There will be no ums, there will be no ahs. All the filler words will be gone. If I've sworn, it'll take the swear words out. I think I've been pretty good today. But that's an AI app that $20 a month. Now, it's about working out what you can adapt to make it easy. So this is a who not how piece. Yeah.
thanks.
I'm very happy to talk more about it because it's becoming very much a passion of mine as to what we use and where we use it. So, just to recap, I've introduced you to some tools, nowhere near the full gamut, but it's a system that makes these work, not any single tool. If you think about that weekly leadership team meeting, that won't work effectively if we haven't identified the KPIs and we haven't identified the issues and we don't if we haven't done the weekly leadership team rhythm meeting will change your business significantly immediately, but doing the other work will make it far more effective. The top, what are the key roles for you as CEOs and founders and for your team? Yeah, working out. Steve Jobs had a fabulous line, which I use a lot. Strategy is about working out what not to do. Think about that. Strategy is working out what not to do. There's another guy that I follow, going back to the early 19th century, a guy called Ivy Lee. And Ivy Lee, there was a company called Bethlehem Steel. I've forgotten who owns it. It was a Rockefeller or a Rothschild or one of those. And he brought Ivy Lee in. It was a bit, at the time, it was the second largest steel manufacturer in America. And he said to Ivy Lee, management consultant, yeah, I'm not happy with the effectiveness of my people. How do I, yeah, what can you do? And Ivy Lee said, let me go and meet with all your leadership team and I'll come back. And so he met with the leadership team and he said to each of them, I want you to, at the start of every day, or at the end of the day before actually, I want you to list the six most important things you need to achieve for your business, for your part of the business tomorrow. And tomorrow, I want you to start on number one and finish it. And only then move to number two, and only then move to number three. And then at the end of the day, list the six most important things you need to achieve tomorrow. And tomorrow, start on number one and finish it. Start on number two and finish it, etc. Cut a long story short, 3 months later, Ivy Lee went back to see his patron, and the patron said, I can't believe what you've achieved. And in our dollars, he paid him $22 million for that little system. I wish you guys would pay me that much. But this is lots of small things adding up to make big change in the business. Okay, can you drop into the chat, please? What's your number one takeaway from today? And what will you implement first in your business? And what do you need help with? If you could do that last one will really help me designing what our next workshops are going to be. So, what's your number one takeaway from today? What will you implement first in your business, and what do you need help with? I'm looking forward to seeing Hitesh's. I've got an idea what his will be. Dana, back to weekly director meetings. Don't deviate from daily priorities. What's your number one takeaway from today? What will you implement first in your business? And what do you need help with? Oh, here we go. Stephen, the weekly leadership sync. We've been using the same one for a number of years and it will be good to shake things up again. Yeah, good. Nathan, need to stop fighting fires and delegate. Absolutely. Get clear on company strategy and leadership accountabilities. Force my focus towards the process design where I can have the biggest impact. Excellent. And that is such a good point, Nathan. The process design where you can actually delegate. David, my own work scope probably needs refocusing. I know I'm involved in things I shouldn't, and I know I have some B plays which needs work too. Victor, what was the name of the podcast? AI again. That was Descript, Descript. Hitesh, number one takeaway, team accountability audit. Need help with that. 90-day turnaround. Yeah. By the way, guys, I'm going to offer you a complimentary growth call, and Hitesh did that with me the other day, and I think we got a lot of clarity, didn't we, Hitesh? Tom,
Yes.
accountability is the foundation. Sorry, Hitesh, I cut you off.
I was saying it was fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you. Tom, accountability as a foundation, weekly meeting structure, improve on our current, me focusing on the right systems and processes for the whole business. Absolutely. It's amazing. Really simple things, Tom. We've done, this was a strategic decision of mine to actually start doing workshops and inviting CEOs. And it's really interesting. I mentioned Crystal a couple of times today, but as I've developed the processes and handed stuff off to her, it just happens. I don't even think about it. Josh, I need to keep accountability with myself and team, need to focus on better systems. Tom, I'd like the same, please. Very happy. We'll send you a link. Get out, Steve, get out doing the work. Accountability for key roles, weekly sync session. Great. Okay. So listen, my implementation challenge. It's so easy to go away from these things and don't do anything. Okay? Don't let the quarter happen to you. So the biggest risk is that this just becomes another good session you forget by Friday. So what I challenge you to is book your quarterly sprint planning session or your people planning session with your team now. Literally book an hour with yourself and your leadership team, put it in the calendar, treat it like strategy, not admin, and book it in for the discussion so you can start executing on this straight away. Okay? An hour with you and your leadership team. Next steps. If you want help putting this into action, there are a couple of steps. Firstly, you can book a 30-minute growth call with me. Complimentary, I'll give you the tools and we can talk through one of your major issues and I'll help you solve that issue. Complimentary, very happy to do it. As I said, Hitesh and I did that. I think it was last week, Hitesh, and I think that was a really good session. Secondly, subscribe to my Stories of Scale podcast. Okay, there's a link in the workbook that Chris will set out to you. I'm recording, not as much as I should. This is where I have Crystal beating me up again, but I'm recording lessons for CEOs that are being released every week. Some of the key things that come out of these calls, I'm recording and they're being added to every week. And my clients and guests are telling me they're adding huge value. Also, there's 128 CEO interviews in there. Phenomenal. The knowledge and information that has come out of those interviews has been great. An invitation to any of you, if you've got a company, 10 plus staff, scaling, I'd love to interview you. We also find it's great marketing for the CEOs we interview and they're generating business out of it. So if you've got 10 plus staff and scaling, please reach out and I'd love to interview you and help you promote your company. Okay, that's all for me. Any questions from any of you? No?
Thanks, it's been great.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for your input.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Pleasure, Nathan.
Cheers.
Thanks, Jonathan. Great one.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks. Yeah.
Great to speak to you and hopefully see you on the next one. But please book a call, links in the chat, and I'd love to have a conversation and help you.
Thanks so much. Bye for now.
Okay, thanks, Jonathan.